Let's see if I can remember how to play. Draymond suspended. Oh shit. Into the crowd. Damn. That didn't work like I wanted it to. He said the intro is too crazy. Draymond trying to go against motherfucking Antetokounmpo. I can't say that shit. Yeah. Where the dude from Portland at though? Game time, yeah. Oh yeah. My Kobe Bryant shit, man. Damn. I could have dropped a dime too. I'm trying to learn how to shoot again because I know they done patched this motherfucking game since I played it last night. Yeah, 1 of 3. Something going on. I know I need to change my jump shot to T-Mac though, but oh shit. New video.
Imagine if you
Shit.
Stay there.
About to say I ain't getting no block. Oh, that's what it is right there. That shit's so quick I can't make it right now. At least I'm doing it right though. They gotta fucking let me see my jump shot though. Hell nah. Hey. See this shit.
Imagine, if you will, a world in which everything you're exposed to is fake. A world in which you are nothing more than a puppet on a string. A world in which the reality you perceive is a mirage, nothing more than an intricate multi-dimensional facade. 35 years ago, John Carpenter created one of the most remarkable movies ever. Imagine, if you will, a world in which everything you're exposed to is fake. A world in which you are nothing more than a puppet on a string. A world in which the reality you perceive is a mirage, nothing more than an intricate multi-dimensional facade. 35 years ago, John Carpenter created one of the most remarkable movies ever created on the subject of ideology, and the movie was completely ignored. However, They Live is arguably. Imagine, if you will, a world in which everything you're exposed to is fake. A world in which you are nothing more than a puppet on a string. A world in which the reality you perceive is a mirage, nothing more than an intricate multi-dimensional facade. 35 years ago, John Carpenter created one of the most remarkable movies ever created on the subject of ideology, and the movie was completely ignored. However, They Live is arguably the most important movie ever made. Almost 4 decades from its release, its overarching message has never been as important or as. Imagine if.
They Live has always been one of my favorite movies.
Imagine, if you will, a world in which everything you're exposed to is fake. Imagine, if you will, a world in which everything you're exposed to is fake. A world in which you are nothing more than a puppet on a string. A world in which the reality you perceive is a mirage, nothing more than an intricate multi-dimensional facade. 35 years ago, John Carpenter created one of the most remarkable movies ever created on the subject of ideology, and the movie was completely ignored. However, They Live is arguably the most important movie ever made. Almost 4 decades from its release, its overarching message has never been as important or as poignant as it is today. Imagine, if you will, a world in which everything you're exposed to is fake. A world in which you are nothing more than a puppet on a string. A world in which the reality you perceive is a mirage, nothing more than an intricate multi-dimensional facade. 35 years ago, John Carpenter created one of the most remarkable movies ever created on the subject of ideology, and the movie was completely ignored. However, They Live is arguably the most important movie ever made. Almost 4 decades from its release, its overarching message has never been as important or as poignant as it is today. They Live wasn't fiction, it was a prophecy. Brody Pipper, known as Nada in the film, is a disillusioned drifter who travels to Los Angeles in search of employment. There he befriends a construction worker named Frank and settles in a shantytown. As time passes, Nada becomes increasingly aware of suspicious activities taking place in the squatter settlement, with some inhabitants regularly congregating in a nearby church. However, following a violent police raid in the church, Nada decides to investigate what exactly is going on here. Shortly after discovering a cryptic message on the wall that reads, "They live, we sleep," Nada finds a pair of suspicious-looking sunglasses. While wandering the streets of LA, Nada decides to try on his newfound shades. This is when They Live really comes to life, and the protagonist's existence is met with an existential shift. The sunglasses, in a very literal sense, change Nada's perspective. They shatter his concept of reality. In addition to causing him to experience black and white vision and a headache, the shades also allow Nada to see the world in a brand new light. Advertisements now read "Obey." Magazines in a shop contain messages like "Do not question authority and consume," and even dollar bills bear the message "This is your God." Nada realizes that he, like almost every other human, is a slave to an all-pervading system. By wearing the glasses, Nada is able to see through the deception and uncover the true meaning behind everything. The lies, the deceit, the master plan to enslave humanity. Breaking free, Nada realizes, is the only option here, and Nada is utterly horrified when he sets his eyes upon a man sporting an elegant suit and an opulent-looking watch, only to be confronted with a repulsive, decomposing countenance. This is the epitome of they, the privileged class transformed into a hideous, alien-like species species. They live by exploiting us. We are their fuel. They are parasites and we are their unsuspecting hosts. They are the self-appointed herders and we are their subservient livestock. While they profit and plunder, we sleep oblivious to the subliminal messages that we are being fed. Does this sound familiar? If not, it really should. We are constantly bombarded with advertisements with subliminal messaging, imploring us to purchase some product or believe in some ideology. However, the most effective advertisements act in a subtle yet potent way. David Ogilvy, the father of modern day advertising, famously said, "A good advertisement is one which sells the product without drawing attention to itself." And the fact is not lost on the unscrupulous advertisers of today. On any given day, you're exposed to hundreds, if not thousands of different advertisements, which might seem like an absurdly high number until you realize almost every single post on social media is an advertisement. You might not notice them at a conscious level, but they notice you and they are affecting you. Subliminal messages can be found on TV, social media, in movies, music videos, and even kids' cartoons. These hidden signals are strategically inserted into advertising messages with the intention of influencing the subconscious behavior of the target audience. The use of such advertising tactics is often deemed unethical and, in certain cases, even prohibited by law. Nevertheless, the subliminal messages persist. Carpenter expertly satirizes the excessive commercialism of the 80s, emphasizing the control exerted by corporations over the masses. Although Carpenter was a visionary, he can never have dreamed of the world we're in today, where companies with more money and power than countries have plugged themselves into every aspect of your life. Then there's companies like Amazon, with a market value 4 times bigger than Austria's GDP. Much of this comes from tracking your online behavior, harvesting your data, then weaponizing this information obtained to target you, or use it in the Washington Post to sell you more garbage, to sell you more political ideologies, to keep the whole machine well oiled. Humans' love for shopping is undeniable. However, have you ever actually asked yourself why this is the case? Or more specifically, who is actually responsible for our insatiable urge to shop until we drop? Well, a significant portion of our shopping behavior can be attributed to one man, Edward Bernays, the nephew of Sigmund Freud, the controversial psychologist who said all humans are driven by unconscious forces. Bernays was a pioneer in the fields of public relations and propaganda. He is widely recognized for introducing modern PR techniques, such as utilizing celebrities to endorse products, employing metaphors to sway public opinion, and using symbols to evoke emotions. And while these techniques may seem innocent, or even harmless at a first glance, their purpose was to manipulate individuals into purchasing unnecessary or unwanted items. As is clear to see, Bernays' master plan works splendidly. For him, that is, not us. This festive season, nearly 40% of Americans will go into debt to pay for presents and other holiday-related expenses. At the same time, many of these people have zero emergency savings, nothing, not 1 cent, just another hamster on the wheel. And Bernays believed that he could convince people to buy products based on emotions rather than practicality. He could generate demand for previously unappealing or unknown items. To achieve this, he developed techniques that aim to tap into our subconscious desires and establish an emotional connection between a product and its consumer. In essence, he artificially created a need for certain products by exploiting our emotions. Consequently, because of America's cunning ways, we have witnessed decades of overconsumption. Bernays, often hailed as the pioneer of public relations, published his influential masterpiece Propaganda in 1928. In this groundbreaking and dystopian work, he plumbed the depths of human minds, emphasizing that public relations should not be diminished as a mere trick, but rather recognized as an essential tool for controlling the purchasing behaviors of the masses. Quote, "The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses," he wrote, "is an important element in democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government which is the true ruling power of our country." Like Freud, he believed that, quote, "We are governed, our minds are molded, our tastes formed, and our ideas suggested, largely by men we have never heard of. It is they who pull the wires that control the public mind." And after witnessing the remarkable effectiveness of propaganda in previous wars, Bernays pondered over its potential usefulness in times of peace. However, due to the negative associations that propaganda has garnered, Bernays advocated for the term public relations. In other words, modern-day PR is simply a glorified version of wartime propaganda. Drawing on the insights of his colorful uncle, Bernays developed an approach he dubbed the engineering of consent. In short, the guru provided influential clients, including General Electric, Procter & Gamble, the American Tobacco Company, and the media giant CBS, with the tools to, quote, "control and regiment the masses according to our will without their knowing about it." To do so, he said it was necessary to circumvent the rational part of the mind and go straight for the jugular, in this case, the unconscious. A century ago, it was customary for Americans to have a light breakfast consisting of coffee, a slice of bread, and maybe some cereal. However, Bernays decided to explore the idea of a heartier morning meal, ostensibly for better health. Seeking professional advice, Bernays consulted the agency's doctor, who confirmed that starting the day with a more substantial meal would provide individuals with increased energy. Shortly after, Bernays requested the doctor reach out to 5,000 fellow doctors and inquire about their stance on the matter. And surprisingly, over 4,500 doctors responded affirmatively, agreeing with the idea of a heavier breakfast for improved health. Armed with this overwhelming response, Bernays seized the opportunity to craft a compelling narrative. The newspaper headlines soon proclaimed, 4,500 physicians advocate for Americans to embrace substantial breakfast to enhance their well-being. Many of these articles highlighted bacon and eggs as the quintessential components of a real American morning meal. Bernays also applied Freudian psychology to instant cake mix. Yes, cake mix. During World War II, this formula was created to simplify the process of cooking or baking food. By simply adding water to the dry ingredients mix and heating it up, you can make food in no time, but housewives for some reason weren't buying it. They resisted purchasing the mix. So Bernays realized that when housewives simply added water to the mix, they felt a sense of guilt deep within their subconscious. Why? Because they felt they contributed very little to the process. Building upon this revelation, the recipe was then altered to include a couple of eggs, and the inclusion worked as planned. According to Freudian psychology, the woman's act of offering her eggs to her husband should be seen as an unconscious gift. This gesture not only eliminates guilt, but also holds a deeper significance. In Freudian theory, the egg symbolizes life and birth, adding a profound meaning to the creation of the cake. In this way, the housewife metaphorically gives birth to something special for her husband. And Bernays' impact on how we view and consume items simply can't be overstated, and this fact was not lost on John Carpenter. And They Live provides us with an answer to this whole situation, albeit a deeply unsettling one. Nada, Piper's character's name, is Spanish for nothing. In the eyes of the elite, which includes corporate executives, marketing magnates and politicians, we are, as Nada's name suggests, nothing. Why concern yourself with ethical dilemmas when your target audience, which consists of billions of people, are deemed insignificant objects, meat suits who deserve to be manipulated, molded, and mercilessly exploited? Nada is a representation of the everyday citizen. For many of us, however, the truth is too painful to confront. For many, ignorance is synonymous with bliss. So Nada urges Frank, his friend, to wear the sunglasses in order for him to see the ways things really are. However, Frank, obviously aware of the brutal realities that await him if he accepts the request, actually refuses to wear the glasses.
Put them on.
You don't want to wake up.
With a family to support, Frank says he couldn't bear the harsh reality of knowing his entire life is just a lie. Nada, however, is having none of it. After a rather surreal fight scene that lasts several minutes, Nada forces the sunglasses onto Frank's face.
Look at them, they're everywhere!
I don't know. Maybe they can see Valley 5th and Spring.
And from that moment on, Frank's life changes forever. Now, Carpenter's sunglasses idea turns the script on his head. His commenter here calls to remove our rose-tinted glasses in order to see things in an objective manner. Carpenter, however, makes the case that what we perceive as objective truth is in fact a carefully curated simulation. We are, as the movie suggests, cogs in a forever turning wheel. Resources who are being mined financially, psychologically, and spiritually. But we can only realize this fact by donning the glasses, not taking them off. So Nada and Frank then join forces with a group of individuals who have also experienced the effects of the sunglasses. There they form an underground resistance movement. Through a series of intense, violent confrontations, they successfully infiltrate the secret gathering place of the extraterrestrial elites. Their bravery is, in the end, rewarded, but it requires sacrifice and huge amounts of pain, and a willingness to accept some cold, harsh reality. At its core, They Live is a film about the eternal struggle for individuality, autonomy, and the noble pursuit of truth. And Carpenter encourages each and every viewer to question the overarching narrative that permeates their life, and to ask loudly and unapologetically if they are being influenced by ominous external forces. But it's important to note that this masterpiece was inspired by 8 O'Clock in the Morning, a short story written 60 years ago. You see, when we think of dystopian fiction, our minds usually go to 1984, but Ray Nelson's tale, which inspired Carpenter, who would later inspire the makers of The Matrix, is perhaps the most important and most overlooked short story of the 20th century. The plot surrounds George Nada, an apparently ordinary, rather unremarkable individual who finds himself in a situation where he becomes aware of a conspiracy orchestrated by extraterrestrial beings. These aliens possess the ability to manipulate reality and utilize the media as a means to subdue and dominate the human race. Which sounds awfully relevant, doesn't it? George's awakening then occurs after an experience with a hypnotist that takes a weird turn, with the protagonist now possessing the ability to perceive non-human faces, known as fascinators, scattered throughout society. However, George, the only truly awakened civilian in existence, quickly realizes that if he displays any indication of his awareness, the fascinators will instantly order him to revert to his previous state, or worse, end his life. In essence and in structure, Nelson's tale reflects Carpenter's adaptation. A man named Nada, an average Joe, discovers that the world we perceive is not what it seems, that the buildings, posters, television shows, architecture, advertisements, and even the people before us are just simply a facade, a veil of normalcy concealing the truth. That a race of multi-eyed snake creatures not only control the earth, but also our very thoughts and impulses. The aforementioned obey, consume, yield, etc. seems exactly the same as what's happening today with companies like BlackRock, investing into every single company that you know and controlling the message they espouse. I mean, there's a reason all companies, all advertisements, all governments seem to share the same narrative, and everyone around you probably does too. And in They Live, once he comprehends that these creatures hypnotize humanity into complacency in order to literally consume them, he then sets out to put an end to this long-standing occupation. He realizes that television is the Fascinator's primary weapon, and after dispatching the creature in front of the cameras, he leaves the corpse in his chair, stands off camera, mimics the Fascinator, and urges people to wake up and kill the creatures on sight. But today, as TV loses its cachet, social media platforms should be viewed as the Fascinator's weapon of choice. From an early age, children are handed digital devices and social media accounts, quickly becoming iPad kids, entering worlds where they're bombarded with dangerously high amounts of advertisements and questionable ideologies. From as soon as they're born, they are influenced by the worst among us, and once they hop onto the digitally powered treadmill, they never get off. They are consumers or slaves for life. In certain aspects, Nelson's no-nonsense storytelling technique proves advantageous to the narrative here. Its ultimate objective is to utilize science fiction and adventure as a subversive tool, effectively addressing the numbing impact of American culture on its people. It has been hijacked. At the time of They Live's release, Carpenter only expressed his dissatisfaction with the economic policies of then US President Ronald Reagan, commonly known as Reaganomics, as well as the increasing commercialization in popular culture and politics during that time. Carpenter actually stated that the premise of the movie involved the so-called Reagan Revolution being controlled by aliens from another galaxy. These extraterrestrial beings insisted Carpenter taking over the world and were exploiting Earth as if it were a third world planet. Carpenter wearily observed that everything we saw in television was designed to sell us something, from fast food to fast cars. The messages relayed to us emphasized the significance of consumerism, and today it's only so much worse. Every influencer you see today is showing off their new rich lifestyle. People with the newest Bugattis, the best suits, the Rolexes, living in Dubai in luxury penthouses. And these are supposed to be our saviors from the other side of the spectrum, the established corporations and governments that espouse the same nonsense opinions to control the population. That's why They Live is more relevant than ever today. In 2012, the philosopher Slavoj Žižek released The Pervert's Guide to Ideology, a documentary film that begins by analyzing They Live. In this analysis, Žižek utilizes the film's portrayal of special sunglasses that unveil the truth to elucidate his own interpretation of ideology. According to Žižek, the sunglasses serve as a form of criticism towards ideology. They enable individuals to perceive the genuine message concealed beneath the layers of propaganda, glamour, and posters. And by donning these sunglasses, one becomes aware of the presence of a hidden order within democracy, which upholds the illusion of freedom. Žižek, in his own unique, rather frantic style, passionately implores viewers to take Carpenter's advice. And it makes sense here, because today, as we go into 2024, we are living in extremely strange times, in which the gap between the haves and have-nots continues to widen, where we are constantly bombarded with false idols, false messaging, and subliminal propaganda disguised as friendly advertisements. If ideologies are systems of socially shared ideas, beliefs, and values used to justify certain behaviors, then we have to ask, where do they begin, and who is dictating which ideologies are both acceptable and unacceptable to us? Who is determining the truth in modern society? And to answer this question, one must first reach for the glasses. Carpenter knew this, and now you do too. Your desires and programming is for someone else's benefit. The fact that you don't know the truth is the way it's supposed to be. You think what you think because you have been conditioned, often via subliminal messages, to think this way. But as They Live shows, there is a way out, and you have to break free before it's too late.
That was a pretty good video. One of my favorite movies. But yeah, I'm still trying to shoot. I can't get my shot right, so we finna finish shooting around for a second until I get my shit together. I don't know what the heck is going on. But yeah, that was a good video. They Live is a good movie. The Night of the Comet is good too. Oh, come on. About to say the pass took forever to get there. The Night of the Comet is a good movie as well. Oh, he must have went out of bounds. I was about to say. Light and Magic. Hey, I can shoot a little bit now, but I'm on fire. That don't count. Dang, he pulled up. Oh. I'm about to say I missed that shit. I was not ready. Damn, Giannis. Alright. That's crazy. Let me see this shit real quick. This shit finna be loud though.
On Wednesday, June 7th, 2023, Tupac received his posthumous star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. How come you didn't attend the event, or were you even invited?
I was never invited. I've never been invited to not one Tupac thing. Hall of Fame in Brooklyn, a couple other things. Just never. But that's all going through the house, the foundation. They, unfortunately, are living the life off of whatever peanuts the company's giving them. Then they're not, as far as I can see, fulfilling any of his legacies. I think they started a clothing line one time. They had flowers, and it was ridiculous. He has no substantial reminder of his existence here on Earth. What have they done? That bullshit library that's lasted, what, 2-3 years?
Damn.
They haven't even put out a video. They haven't even played none of his music. When's the last time you heard a new Tupac song, except on YouTube? Whole shoot, he had 100 and 200 songs he hadn't released. And you were in charge of all that, and that's the best you can leave us with? It's All Eyes on Me and Dear Mama, done by a motherfucker that didn't like Tupac. If you'd ask Tupac today, and it's great, we ain't got no grade, would you want Allen Hughes to do a special on him? What do you think he would say? Hell no. Why would I want that motherfucker to do anything on me? Not for nothing. I heard there for a Grammy or something.
Yeah, he's nominated for a Grammy this year for Dear Mama and being in that actual the documentary of Dear Mama.
Oh, okay.
So he's nominated for a Grammy for that.
But the star thing, I think it's just ridiculous. I mean, that's what Tupac represented, a star on some concrete and a name in Oakland on a street side. That's what they give all our martyrs. Malcolm got names all throughout every ghetto in America. Martin Luther King got names, both killed by the government. Both dead. But they give you a name of a street and a star.
That's
Tupac Shakur is nominated for his first Grammy for Dear Mama in the Dear Mama docuseries that was directed by Allen Hughes.
Yeah.
If Tupac were alive, what do you think would be his thoughts on that, and what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think he would have to recognize that he had a great mother. She raised him through all the misgivings they had, even the lies. We all make mistakes. That's just a very long mistake when you lie to your child, but we all make mistakes. We all do dumb shit. So I think he would have saluted her. He'd have got on the mic and gave her all the love he could possibly give. But I think in his heart, he would never forgive her. You know, none of us had really great parents. My father I didn't see for years, but he was my dad. When I saw him, he was my dad. That's just the way he was. He didn't have no father. My dad had no father. He never knew him, never saw him. He don't know what he saw. It takes a dad to raise a dad. You have to learn that shit.
So you're basically saying your father didn't have a father.
They know he was left on the doorstep.
Right. So your father, in fathering you, didn't have a right.
That's why I'm a little
and right. And then you basically saying in Tupac's life, based on the situation that happened between you guys, it was a continued.
His mother left him on the thing when he was an infant. I don't even know her grandmother, so he doesn't. That side of the family I know nothing about. Aunts, uncles, cousins.
You mean the Feeney side?
No, my dad's
Your
side.
dad's side, okay.
So that's where he come, but he became a good man. He did what he had to do as a man. Bought a house, was in the war. He drove behind Patton. You know, gasoline. He meant Patton Third Army running through New York. He drove the gas that supplied the tanks to Patton.
To General Patton.
Yeah. So imagine being shot at when you got a tank full of gallons of gas behind. That bravery, but you don't hear nothing about. Not a damn thing. Good man. Came home, had a job, truck driver, been all over the country. He's been in 46 states, except North Dakota, South Dakota, Hawaii, and Alaska, taking people's furniture. United Airlines, somebody wants to move from Minnesota to California, send the truck, be gone 2 weeks. But that was a lot of money back then. Car, we had a house, but I don't have no dad. We just don't see him because he hustling. So there's a lot of reasons why things happen the way they happen.
Absolutely.
And that's why I think might have happened with Pac and me too also.
Because you were working for one of those companies also that you explained in the last interview.
Oh, yeah, but it's some things I could have did a little better too, in terms of fathering. And I have to own up to that as a man.
I appreciate that honesty, man. A lot of people.
I wasn't the best of father. A lot of things, reason for it. But you always look back and could have been a better father. I could have anyway. I got 2 children with dead. And you always think about maybe if you were a little better at father, they might not be dead. You have to live with that. Yeah. It might not have made no difference, but it might have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. On November 5th, 2023 in Oakland, a stretch of an Oakland street was renamed after Tupac. Does that make you proud to know that one of the places that Tupac called home honored him in that way?
Right?
No.
Be like, hell nah. See?
Absolutely. On November 5th, 2023 in Oakland, a stretch of an Oakland street was renamed after Tupac. Does that make you proud to know that one of the places that Tupac called home honored him in that way?
No, didn't. I saw it's typical. Grabbing a piece of the star, but everybody want to grab a piece of the star. We're the biggest rapper. So let's own up to him. He's ours. It wasn't yours when your 2 cops beat him to death. They beat him to death for jaywalking. And he had to sue you for $100 million. You ended up paying like $48 million. Some of you paid $30 million. How much was it?
I think $40,000.
Yeah, so it was very cheap, but I take that back. It wasn't me, it was $40,000. It was on the cheap. But it was admittance of wrong, that you beat an innocent black man for jaywalking and you brutalized him. So here comes what, 30, 40 years now? Let's name a street after him. I think that's just so ironic. Yeah.
So you don't think that that's a great way to remember him?
No, it's the same thing as naming the street for Malcolm and Martin Luther King. People don't really know what they really stood for. Ask the average black man about Malcolm. We know, because we're old. These little jitterbugs, rockheads, they don't know about no Malcolm. Ask them to be the stupidest rapper on the radio, they could recite that 100 times.
So do you think that's intentional? That information being lost?
Oh, of course it's lost. They're trying to take more and more away from them. They don't even want to teach why slavery. So what's that tell you?
You got a point.
Look at Florida. All the red states are going that way now. Oh, we did a lot of bad things, but we shouldn't tell them. we won't say what we did. You know, how we took the land from the Indians, this and that. I ain't got to say it, everybody knows. Some people call it progress, other people call it genocide. That's how you look at it.
Depending on what side you
look at
yeah.
it. Like Thanksgiving means a lot to different people. Native Americans, they don't like no Thanksgiving. Black people, happy Thanksgiving. I can't say that.
Right. Thanksgiving. Man, I gotta play again because I don't think I got my shot down yet. And I didn't get to do my move. They was playing like high up defense. I don't know what it was. But I'm trying to play some Battlefield 2 though. I figured it out for LA. That shit used to, I don't know. I figured it out.
There's the man of the hour. Go get him in.
See what this one talking about. Hold on.
How do you feel about DL saying that you allowed Diddy to drug females when you was around, and you only calling it out now because you and Diddy
Damn.
not cool no more?
DL said
Well-
that. That's fucked up.
D.L. Hughley, he's supposed to be frat now, and that's a fraternity brother. And all I'm going to say is that I'm one of about 8 or 9 bodyguards that I knew Puff had during the week. You got to realize he has 2 to 3
like, I
bodyguards,
wasn't
2
there
to 3
every day.
bodyguards working a day. I had them on Saturdays and Sundays. And if they go into parties, they go in certain places, I might get called. Now, I'm not gonna never jeopardize my livelihood as a New York State parole officer, as a mandated reporter, for nobody. For nobody. If Puff was doing some stupid shit around me, I'm gonna check him. Always have, always will. Or always did.
He's standing on business. He's
What he
like,
do
like,
and what he did
fuck
to
that.
somebody else on they watch, that's on them. But you have to
Like, DL
understand
can't
it,
put that on me.
that anybody that works in the law enforcement in New York City, if he does it to somebody and I don't report it and I don't do anything, it's like I've done it. I refuse to quit my job to be on Bad Boy payroll
Right.
like they wanted me to be. I wasn't going to do that, and I never had it. I never would have done it.
Oh,
And now I could sit back, and I say this all the time, I'm retired, and I can pimp the mailman. I'm good, I'm fine. What Mr. Hughley is talking about, he just talking.
right.
Like a lot of these other cats. They make it seem like that I was the only bodyguard. I'm the only one that came out and started talking and telling a lot of stuff other than this other guy, Roger Bonds, and he wasn't the bodyguard when I was there. And I don't believe Mr. Bonds was working 24/7 either. Because we used to have 12-hour shifts or 18-hour shifts or 10-hour shifts when I was there.
Right.
Everybody had different days. So people gonna say what they want to say. They're gonna have a conversation. They're gonna talk. But that's their own opinion. And it's like, so everybody got one. But hold up, man. I'm gonna answer that. Let me just say something. I've been saying this shit since '97.
Damn.
Even when I went back to work
1997.
with bad boy, I still was saying it. I still was telling them. Because like I told y'all, they needed me more than I needed them. I was that safe. I was that golden ticket that they needed in New York City based on the people that I had behind me. Slick, Chaz, K. Man, we can't do none of them niggas tonight. Gene with them. That's Chaz, man. That's Slick, man. You know it's gonna be a problem. Respect. You understand what I'm saying? So, and then Puff had respect for me too. He wasn't gonna jeopardize my shit. Cause I wasn't gonna allow him to jeopardize my shit. I'm that type of dude. I'm not gonna allow you. All these cats on this internet talking all that bullshit, they wouldn't be in the same room with me breathing hard, talking all that old gangster shit. I don't care nothing about that. I seen dudes in the street that were scared of gangsters. They buried them. All that old flash, these guys out here trying to make like on the internet, these keyboards, gangsters and all that shit, like talking this and saying that. Man, come on. Not at all.
Well, there you have it. He's saying that shit didn't happen on his watch. And he is not changing his story. But they needed him. Bro, what the? Why he keep getting these passes? And why Ja Morant keep shooting threes? What? Is this a simulation? Is this real? Oh. Oh, stop. What? Come on, bro. Why was Chris Paul cutting anyway? I should have threw him the lob. Oh. Oh shit, I can't believe he did that. There, let me get it back. Oh, I can shoot it from here. Fuck it. Come on, bro. Can't never get a steal. $15 seconds. Can I hit it? And one. I was behind him the whole play. Gotta get in front of him. Oh yeah, where that shit at though? Damn.
Okay. And that's what I was going to ask you next, Reggie, is the Interscope Death Row breakup. In Suge's podcast, he makes it like Jimmy contacted him while he was in prison and said, hey, we're not going to distribute you anymore. Which sounds odd, but I just wanted to legitimately get your take, because I don't remember off the top of my head, to be honest, what caused the split, or what was the reason for the split, or who initiated the split between Interscope distributing Death Row stuff. Like, was it Interscope, so quote unquote, dropping Death Row, or was it Suge and Death Row saying, I don't want to work with them anymore?
Yeah. I heard Suge take on it, and I know y'all get mad when I rewrite his take, but I'm just gonna throw this out, and hopefully Suge will remember and be like, okay, yeah, that is true. Suge had a major clause when Suge had just signed a big contract with Universal, or I think they were MCA at the time, but the company, whatever company that Edgar Brofman was running, and then that took over, where he was getting $20 million guaranteed a year, and I think his monthly was like 1.5 million, which came up to that $20 million, which was guaranteed for his operation expense. And Suge got that money, that deal done when we came back from Paris. I remember we flew in straight from Paris to New York for him to execute and finalize that deal. So it was whenever that hung jury video, the first part was done, when we did in Paris. But I don't remember the date. But for some reason, I think it was sometime in July or August that this happened of 1996. So the only hang up in that contract was, and I remember Suge laughing to me, like, man, Reg, they up there holding up my money and holding up this deal because they scared to ask me that if I get in trouble, if I catch a felony or, get arrested, go to prison, that they don't want to be in business with me anymore because they've been in corporation. I told them, man, run that deal. If that's what's holding us up, I'll sign that.
All right.
So they used that clause to get out of the contract, where they could void the contract, because they could have made anybody. That's why initially Suge had this guy named Paul Marshall, this attorney named Paul Marshall, trying to find. We hired this guy because everybody only know about the time that Reggie or Michelet or Norris was in charge. But for about 2 weeks, we had this other guy that Paul Marshall and Michelet had met with and agreed to hire. And he's a good dude. I always liked him. His name was Miller London. He was the editor and the owner of Urban Network magazine. And Miller London was coming to be the face of Death Row. Now, Suge always had a plan, like, that nigga just gonna be a face. He ain't gonna be able to make no decisions, Reg, we got this, but he had them hire Miller London. And Miller London came in there and started meeting with artists and stuff. And I remember Miller London came to me and handed me the keys to the car, because we gave him a company car. I said, Red, I can't do this. And he quit within 2 weeks. I think he got one check. He was getting $12,000 a month. And a car was his salary. And he's like, I can't do this job. I can't do this. And he quit. So I'm saying that to say, so that was his game plan, to try to put somebody that was in the business, responsible, to be the face of the company. But they had this clause that if Suge wasn't in charge, they can get out of the contract. And they elected to get out of the contract because of Suge's arrest and his conviction. Well, once he got that conviction, is when we started, they put us on notice that they were no longer going to honor the agreement that he had just signed. And so that's what happened. And that's when, Snoop and everybody started getting mad, and that started happening like sometime in 97, the end of 97 or something like that. Because that's when the cuts stopped getting checked. And that's what people didn't understand, and I think Suge, by not calling in Snoop and Nate Dogg and people like that were still left there, and telling them that, hey, the reason why your check's not getting cut because Interscope bailed on us and we don't have a distribution deal. I'm not getting this $1.5 million a month, where he was out there trying to make it happen and getting the deal with Priority and all of that. to where people got
Hey.
upset and then started doing the things that they did in reaction to not getting their check for a month or two. And but to be honest, the reason why Interscope was able, they probably been wanting to do it because they had got Dre and they thought Dre was going to make the, you know, the home runs, which as Suge will tell you, Dre flopped for the first 3 or 4 years until that white boy came and saved him. He was doing bad. He was he had to downside houses and everything. You know, until M came and did what he did for them. So, yeah, see, that's one of those things where I keep telling y'all, I feel bad for putting things out there because this is Suge's story to tell, but if y'all want the truth, y'all can continue to come and listen to me. Y'all just want to hear Suge version, then y'all probably need to stop listening to me because I'm going to tell the good and the bad, where that's the real reason. It ain't because they didn't want people cussing and all of that, like he said. It was just because they used a clause and they wanted out of Death Row business because they were doing other home runs at the time. They had 9 Inch Nails, they had Beck, they had, Dre wasn't doing it yet, but they had Eve, they had Maya, they had Kirk Franklin. Everybody forget about that Stump record.
Right.
They had Teddy Riley and No Diggity, No Doubt. They had other stuff that were doing it for them, and they knew that they still had Tupac. And so the only asset that they were really losing was Snoop. Because if you're keeping it real, that's all we really had. Nate Dogg was
Keeping it
great
real.
as a side artist, but he was not an artist that could carry an album by himself, as y'all saw. But put that nigga on a hook. I still love Nate Dogg singing on hooks to this day.
Heck yeah. Yeesh. Alright, but yeah. Give me a second. Damn. Come on, man. Yeah, that was better. Damn. Post game. Oh, come on.
Come get it, come get it. Oh, come on, hit that, man.
Oh, got stripped trying to pass the ball to Draymond in the corner. I don't know why I was trying to do that anyway. God. Alright. They fucking with me now. Hey. Come on. And I'm on fire. Draymond in the corner. Draymond. It's a wrap for Draymond. He doubling Ja Morant every time he touches the ball. Oh. Alright. Oh. That shit didn't even work though. Oh. That's crazy. Wow. No steal. What a surprise. Alright. Damn. They is not letting me do nothing right now. 44%. What kind of foul was that? He pushed him in the back. Out. I ain't even had to do nothing that time. Just catch it, stop and shoot. Oh God. I could have got that steal. Hey. Jamal Crawford shit, man. Oh God. Damn, bro, why they all double teaming me? What? And I'm about to lose my shit. Fucking around. Hey! My dude can't lay up the ball. I should have shot it. It's all good though. Too soon.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hope you're excited for the holidays. Well, today we have an interesting video, and trust me, we're almost done with the cabbage stuff. I know most of you don't
We're
really
almost
care,
done with
but
the cabbage
some people
stuff.
are just about done with the cabbage videos, thinking that we have nothing else to talk about, and I get it. But let me finish up with a few more thoughts that I really feel adds to this.
He's like, I know you guys hate the cabbage videos, but here's more cabbage videos. I don't mind.
Hope you're excited for the holidays. Well, today we have an interesting video, and trust me, we're almost done with the cabbage stuff. I know most of you don't really care, but some people are just about done with the cabbage videos, thinking that we have nothing else to talk about, and I get it. But let me finish up with a few more thoughts that I really feel adds to this mystery in terms of the relationship between orphans and cabbages. This was inspired by a comment actually, so shout out to them. I never really knew about this, but apparently there's this whole lost orphan holiday that was a big part of American history, yet it seems everyone has forgotten about it, or at least it's not really well known. We're talking about ragamuffins, and I found this pretty crazy.
Ragamuffins, yeah.
So the
I
mainstream
heard of
story
that.
is that ragamuffins are children who dressed up in costumes or really ragged clothes to basically look like orphans and beg. This was known as Ragamuffin Day, and it goes back to when Abraham Lincoln first declared Thanksgiving to be a national holiday in 1863. Interestingly, it originated in Irish and other immigrant neighborhoods in New York. And although the mainstream narrative admits that most of these children were likely working, it tries to make this out as if it was some fun Halloween-like tradition where kids would pretend to be poor in order to beg for gifts door to door after Thanksgiving. But the crazy part about this is that there were thousands of these kids on the street. So many in fact that they would call it a parade. And this is the actual inspiration for the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade. The idea is that these children would dress up, most of them in very worn and torn outfits, and honestly, some of them in these very creepy masks. They would go out into the streets in the thousands and then beg people for nickels or pennies. And if you didn't give them any gifts, they would play practical jokes or really cause complete chaos. The word ragamuffin can refer to a ragged person, and it's even used to describe a demon in the 14th century poem Piers Plowman. But by the 19th century, it had taken on a new meaning in America, describing participants in the tradition of Thanksgiving masking or ragamuffin parades. Over time, people started to question this weird holiday. These kids weren't just parading around, they were starting bonfires, vandalizing properties, and blasting horns.
That's funny.
By the late 1920s, it became clear that this was perhaps not such a great idea. Newspaper articles on Ragamuffin Day often noted that the custom is believed to have originated with the foreign-born population of the big city, who, having no Thanksgiving in their own lands, made use of other holidays for carnival masquerades and seized upon Thanksgiving for that purpose after coming to America. So why would so many kids participate in a holiday where they roamed muddy streets in worn clothing, even little children? It starts to make sense when we tie the subject of Ragamuffin Day to the history of the orphan train movement. New York had a significant issue with orphans and street gangs during this time, and these orphans were moved around the United States to repopulate other cities, often for child labor. We're talking about 200,000 children according to mainstream accounts between 1854 and 1929, which, coincidentally, is around when Ragamuffin Day ceased. Interestingly, none of these articles explaining Ragamuffin Day mention the children actually being orphans. This detail is either omitted or not even considered. Why were thousands of children on the streets dressing up as street orphans, wearing these strange masks and begging for money? Where were their parents? What if this wasn't just
Where's
a
your
holiday,
parents at?
but as a consequence of making Thanksgiving a national holiday, perhaps the day after, all the orphans took to the streets to beg for money, hoping to get enough for food or other necessities. Maybe they were also hoping to be adopted. Think about it, for over 40 years, kids were allowed to cause what was essentially described as riots in the city. This is literally how the newspapers portrayed it. Then suddenly, at the beginning of the 1930s, there's a shift in perspective. Newspapers start saying things like, "American boys don't beg," signaling a growing concern for this Ragamuffin Day. It became pretty clear that this tradition might not be such a good idea after all. There were a few more Ragamuffin parades into the 1950s, but by then, the event had been transformed and became more like a conventional parade, resembling Halloween in terms of costume variety. Yet, many of the old photos from the 1920s and earlier don't just show children in costumes. Ragamuffin Day was described as a plague in some accounts. Children would light huge bonfires, and there were even reports of gang fights breaking out with gunfire when two different groups of ragamuffins crossed paths. These weren't just innocent games, they were in street gangs, which in some contexts could be another term for orphans. So this Ragamuffin Day, a day characterized by mischief and pranks, gradually fell out of popularity. It was replaced by Halloween after the 1930s, which is based on this whole idea of going door to door and asking for treats while dressed up. But it's essential to note that the Ragamuffins, or orphan children, did it first. Interestingly, the night before Halloween is known as Mischief Night in many different states, yet not too many people know why. This ties back yet again to the Irish with the Celtic roots of Halloween and the Ragamuffins. Mischief Night is particularly popular in New Jersey, also referred to as Devil's Night, where children or teenagers engage in pranks and vandalism, very much in the spirit of Ragamuffin Day, which is likely of the same origin. However, Mischief Night has its own unique history, making it even more fascinating. It's a tradition in many states in the US and in England, a day where roles are reversed and children take control. Pretty interesting, but one has to wonder, why would they create a holiday where kids can run around and wreak havoc in the city? The dates for Mischief Night have shifted throughout the centuries, ranging from April to early November. One of the earliest accounts date back to the late 1700s. In her 2012 dissertation at the University of Bristol about the history of Halloween in Northern England, Karen Allen writes that an autobiography of Labour advocate and writer Samuel Bamford, born in 1788, includes a description of Mischief Night. It mentions pranks like pulling up fence posts and tipping over horse carts. The response to these activities, as Bamford describes, indicates that they were likely a tradition, treated with a mixture of mild annoyance and acceptance. It was no big deal, just kids being kids. Even more fascinating is the multitude of variations of this holiday. While it seems to be heavily localized to the northeast of the United States, it also spreads into the surrounding areas. In Michigan, it's known as Devil's Night, which has its own unique history. Remember, these traditions go back several centuries, and their origins are somewhat murky. Why is there a pranking holiday centered around kids causing disruption? Just like Ragamuffin Day, Halloween and Mischief Night weren't initially associated with each other, but they were both most celebrated in areas with significant Scots-Irish immigrant populations. This raises an interesting point. Could there be a connection with the Irish immigrants? Many of the children in the orphan train program were first-generation Irish Catholics. Perhaps it's plausible that this holiday originated from street gangs rather than just children dressing up or gathering to play pranks.
Right?
What are the implications of such a day still being deeply embedded within our culture of Halloween and Mischief Night, where children go out with friends alone in the streets to beg for candy? Well, it gets even stranger. This day is also known as Cabbage Night. Cabbage Night stems from an old Scottish tradition. In Framingham, Massachusetts, which also calls it Cabbage Night, there's this curious practice. According to Framingham Legends, a history of the town, girls on Halloween Eve would pull cabbages from their neighbors' patches to divine the qualities of their future husbands. After the cabbages had served their mystical purpose, apparently the next logical step was to throw them against the doors and run away quickly, thus sparking a long tradition of Halloween pranks. So wait, they were using cabbages as a divination tool? And then they just started throwing cabbages as the next logical conclusion? While the tradition of throwing cabbages is no longer practiced, it's interesting to consider whether it references the orphans themselves. There are artworks depicting cabbages as children on Cabbage Night, complete with faces, even showing them falling in love. Could there be a deeper meaning here? So Halloween was originally Cabbage Night, an Irish tradition, and then Ragamuffin Day was prevalent in Irish neighborhoods. Is there a correlation between cabbages and orphans who were moved into new cities? Many of these children were working from a very young age. Supposedly, they were all given one day where they could be free and rule the town, causing complete mayhem while dressing up as demons and throwing rotten cabbages. Or were these really just costumes? Or perhaps these were orphans or little rascals gathering in great numbers to cause a significant disruption. Kids just being kids? Kids ruling the city? Why were there so many children begging for money, not candy? It might be easy to dismiss this as mere coincidence, but if the tradition was just about tossing rotten vegetables, then why did it end up with the name Cabbage Night? What does cabbage have to do with foretelling the future and determining who you will marry? So, Halloween is Cabbage Night. That's not the only connection. The tradition of carving pumpkins stems from the old Irish legend of Drunken Jack, who wandered between heaven and hell with a hollow cabbage lit by a burning coal, simulating a flashlight. It's kind of odd when you think about it because now we carve faces on pumpkins. So wait, pumpkins are cabbage heads? If you haven't seen the Cabbage Baby playlist, make sure to check it out. But this is fascinating to find another reference to orphans and cabbages. It's kind of crazy how deep this history of cabbages really goes, and I'm constantly learning new stuff about it, so yeah, that's all for now.
He's like,
Hope you
yeah,
guys have
that's
a
all for
wonderful
now.
Christmas and New Year's. Thanks for watching, and all we can hope is that our minds may be unveiled.
So, yeah, more cabbage shit. That shit's crazy. Say I can't miss two. Damn. Damn, fuck that out. Could have made it though. Could never get a steal in this game. Oh, I got a steal in this game. Oh, he was playing good defense. I should have passed it. But Draymond got the rebound anyways. That's what happens when you try to go for too many steals in 2K. Get sent to the bench. Alright, I'm back though. I wasn't shooting that great anyway. Hold on. About to say, let me see. Yeah. I needed to go sit down. Because I was just thinking how good I was going to shoot this game and shit. And I come out and shoot terribly. What? And another quick foul. What is going on? I got 2 points and a D+. And they put me back on the bench. They trolling me now. At this point. Now it's halftime. I think I still am gonna play a little Battlefield. I'm pretty sure, yeah. Since 2K is like, you know, tripping right now. Calling every foul. And I'm probably not going to be able to contain myself from fouling more, so this might be a quick game. Nevertheless, we will commence the rest of the game. Oh shit. Damn. Bro tripping. Oh. Alright, I got half the game to get my shit together. Still can't make a shot. Alright, but I can't let that mess up my defense though, you know? Oh. Another one. I'm telling you. They are definitely fucking me over right now. But, yeah, whatever. What? It's super crazy, though. They didn't hit me for every foul. Oh, like I said, they probably finna sub me out again. All right, how many points do I even got? Like, what the hell? I don't even got like but 2 points. I done got like, how many fouls? 4 fouls. Got twice as many fouls and points. All right, let's see what I can do. Oh, almost got another foul. That's fucked up. Bro gave it to him in the corner. Yeah. Alright. I'm still gonna double team too. Are we losing? Oh yeah, we losing by a little bit. Hold on, bro. Chill. Oh. Still double teaming. Holy shit, I got a steal. Let's go. Oh, is he gonna take it all the way? He right there. He might as well. All right, cool, whatever. Hey, let me get it. Gotta help the team win however I can, even with 4 fouls. I'm not jumping though. What the? Hey. I can't. Damn. If I make that one. I didn't expect to make that one. Slightly late, man. That was a heat check, though. Throw up. Hey. Taking the lead. And trying to double team every time. I got 4 or 5. If I get another one, they're gonna take me out the game. Damn. Curry? Okay. I got 12 points though. Hey, that's crazy. Now I can score now. And a layup at that. A cool 17 real quick, you know what I'm saying? 15. Damn, put it up, yeah. Holy, almost got another foul. If they ain't fouling, I don't want it. Hey, in the corner 3. Come on. Uh-oh. What? Bro left me for a second. Like I wasn't finna get the ball. What? 1 1/4, you know what I'm saying? Not too bad. Not the best, but. Bro, like, good game, good game. Alright, hold on. Oh.
That's what we do, baby.
Let's see what this shit is all about real quick. See what it's talking about.
More than 70
oh, it's right here? All right.
years ago, on December 17th, 1944, 11 black military forces were massacred in a cow pasture in the middle of nowhere in Warworth, Belgium. The 1st SS Division German patrol killed the men in cold blood. 2 months later, a 12-year-old Belgian boy found their bodies rotting in the snow. When American officials came to examine the remains, they found broken bones, gouged eyes, countless stab wounds, and severed fingers. It was obvious these men were tortured to death. They came from the segregated 333rd Field Artillery Platoon and were among the first military trained for combat rather than being put into services. This tragedy, however, stayed buried in the National Archives for 7 decades. But this story is just one of many. We see plenty of movies of World War II that create this perfect little picture that all American citizens fought as a united front against.
But it wasn't. I get it. Right. Let me give me 1 second real quick. I'm gonna have to think about playing Battlefield real quick. So give me 1 second.
More than 70 years ago, on December 17, 1944, 11 black military forces were massacred in a cow pasture in the middle of nowhere in Warworth, Belgium. The 1st SS Division German patrol killed the men in cold blood. 2 months later, a 12-year-old Belgian boy found their bodies rotting in the snow. When American officials came to examine the remains, they found broken bones, gouged eyes, countless stab wounds, and severed fingers. It was obvious. These men were tortured to death. They came from the segregated 333rd Field Artillery Platoon and were among the first military trained for combat rather than being put into services. This tragedy, however, stayed buried in the National Archives for 7 decades. But this story is just one of many. We see plenty of movies of World War II that create this perfect little picture that all American citizens fought as a united front against the common enemy. But historical records show it was a lot more complicated than that.
The Russians are able to push forward hundreds of kilometers within 2 months, destroying 17 German army divisions. The Wehrmacht retreats towards East Prussia, leaving behind many thousands of casualties.
During the war, more than 1 million black men served in the United States military, but they were treated as second-class citizens. Systematic racism and segregation were rampant. This meant that black troops, even though they were putting their lives on the line, still had to use separate barracks and segregated recreation facilities. If they were to step 1 foot outside their segregated units, officers would immediately attack or threaten them.
For one thing, there's a deliberate movement among the cultural elites, the political elites, to respond to Nazism and the whole ideology of Nazism by taking seriously the resemblance between Nazi theory and American practice, the segregation of blacks in the South, the racial laws, and so on. And you have a burgeoning black-led civil rights movement moving for what's called double victory.
They were not famous people. They were just everyday folk from different neighborhoods who volunteered or who were drafted to be in the Marines, Navy, Army, or Women's Army Corps. This is the true story of what black soldiers had to endure during World War II. When World War I started, black intellectuals and writers discussed whether it made any sense to join the military for a country that had not fully recognized them as citizens. Around 380,000 black men responded to W.E. Du Bois' invitation to enlist into a segregated army, hoping it would improve the status of black people back home. However, many white Americans saw black soldiers on the front lines as a threat to the belief in their racial superiority. In a 1917 speech in the Senate, Mississippi Senator James K. Vardaman warned people that when black veterans would come back home, it would be a complete disaster. He said once you instill in a black person the idea that they are defending the flag and filling them with military pride, it wouldn't be long before they demanded respect for their political rights.
Glad I didn't get in there.
Black veterans came back home, but they didn't get the warm welcome they'd hoped for. The whites had something else in store for them. Instead of being acknowledged for their civil rights and contribution to the cause, they faced a strong wave of hostility and discrimination. White people speculated that while black soldiers were stationed in Europe, they spent most of their time with white French women. This increased their lust, which, in a white person's mind, that lust was already dangerously high. So, they posed a threat to white American women. In the years after the war, a minimum of 13 Black War veterans were lynched and countless others were whipped, shot at, or beaten. This ideology and hatred towards black people persisted in World War II. Still, 1.2 million black men and women came to fight during the Second World War. At first, these men were banned from fighting on the front lines. Instead, they had to do other services, like cleaning the living quarters and bathrooms of white officers. Quite like in the Civil War, it was only after the casualties began to rise that the commanders agreed to allow the black soldiers to risk their lives on the front line.
Oh, he's right behind me.
In the meantime, all branches of the armed forces relied on Jim Crow practices. Countless training centers and bases were situated in the South, including the largest military facility for black soldiers, Fort Huachuca in Arizona. All bases had separate wards, hospitals, blood banks, medical staff, recreation facilities, and barracks for black soldiers. White locals, officers, commanders, and fellow soldiers would regularly harass them. The treatment they suffered was just gut-wrenching. Many of the people who fought there remember being treated like animals and staying in slave-like conditions. People would throw racial slurs at them every chance they got and would show them zero respect, either as human beings or as soldiers. Because white people thought that black men were not fit to lead or fight, most black men and women worked as cooks, construction workers, and mechanics. They dug ditches and unloaded supplies from airplanes and trucks. And for the very few who made it to the officer rank, they were only allowed to lead other black men. Compared to other branches, the treatment of black men in the Navy was among the worst. They were assigned roles as attendants and were expected to be submissive, wait on, and serve white officers. White people believed that if they were to assign black men combat roles, it would upset the ship's racial dynamics. They thought that black men were not able to fight as well as white men. But when the ships came under attack, even the mess hall attendants fought the Germans and Japanese. As a matter of fact, they proved to be excellent fighters. And so, a strange paradox was born. The Navy insisted that black attendants couldn't fight, and the historical records and evidence and black newspapers showed these black messmen fought like heroes when given the chance. The black press and other civil rights organizations started reporting on the hypocrisy of dying in a war that was supposed to be about democracy, while the black soldiers are constantly being humiliated and degraded in a segregated army. The Germans wanted to cash in on this golden opportunity. They printed out countless propaganda leaflets that said black people would be better treated if they just gave up on the American army and went to a German camp for prisoners of war. These leaflets said that Germans had no problem with black men and that there had never been any lynchings or beatings of colored people in Germany. So, if the black militia was fed up with the war and wanted to come home safe and sound, they should just be with the Germans. To understand what black soldiers had to go through, we also need to learn about how other countries treated black men. At the height of the war, about 100,000 black troops were stationed in Great Britain to support the Allies in Northwest Europe. While they were there, white soldiers and white officers treated them with violence, hatred, and disgust. But the British were a lot more welcoming.
Well, we were well received by all of the English. Birmingham or wherever, whatever city we visited. So we were well received. because England had not seen that many black women, because they had seen the Africans, but we had a variety because there was 800 of us and 32 orphans. So there was a mass difference in what they were being able to see.
Back then, there were very few black people who lived in Britain. Most of the British had never seen an American, let alone a black person. Because the American military knew nothing about the British culture, they were given a handbook. Those who survived stated that the British were resilient and polite, and black people were treated as normal human beings. When the Americans came to the shores, a lot of the British were worried that Americans would undermine their culture. But many women quickly began to get close to the friendly and outspoken GIs. They gave the girls a good time. This is why, by 1949, roughly 100,000 British women married black soldiers. They left their homelands and moved to the United States. Slowly but surely, black people started to see a completely different side in white men. However, because white Americans treated their own people as second-class citizens, it was difficult for some British to remain neutral. On a local level, merchants and business owners were often afraid of disrespecting American segregation policies. They didn't want to lose American customers. According to Rory Odelay, the first black war correspondent for major newspapers during World War II, when a restaurant manager was asked why he refused to serve a black soldier, he replied, "White Americans say they will not patronize my place if black people were served." This is not to say that the British had no racial prejudice. It was just a lot more subtle than it was in the United States. It was just important for common people to make money and live a good life. It was obvious. The Americans wanted to make their white superiority known. So, the black men and women were constantly victims of attacks, beatings, and racial abuse in the British dance halls, pubs, and cinemas by white military police and GIs. This horrified the British public, who had never seen racism of that level. So, they started to resent it. Their outrage became known on June 24th, 1943. Here's what happened. The 15th 11th Quartermaster Truck Regiment, a mainly black unit, was placed in Bamber Bridge, a small town in the heart of Lancashire. Their task was to deliver supplies and war materials to air bases across the region. The black men from the 15th 11th went to grab some drinks at a local pub. But when the white troops came, they tried to segregate the pub. They showed the people that they put out signs outside 3 other pubs that read, "Black Troops Only." The locals were fed up. They teamed up with the black troops and started a riot. Before we get into more details, please like and share this documentary so our people can learn.
But then before we get any further, I want you to like and subscribe. What the? You stopped at the best part? I know, they do that on purpose though. Oh shit, come on, bro.
Reloading, cover me.
It sucks, I can't have my dog in this game. Holy shit, what the fuck happened to him? Yeah, I usually like my dog, but they won't let me get my dog. So. Damn. He almost snuck up, bro.
We've conquered more sectors than they have. Keep going.
Not bad. That video was cool, but like, I was hot. Oh, what the fuck? Oh, that motherfucker flew in? I didn't know you could fly those in like that. I think I got one now, too. Holy shit, that was cool. I need to put mine on, shit. I don't know how to do it, though. Oh, there go one, too, right there. Holy shit. The game then got even more futuristic.
Oh yeah, transport located.
I'm like pulling up right now. Oh shit. Of course. Oh what? Hold on, where the fuck is this dude at walking?
Hostile spotted at Delta 1.
Oh, he right here. Holy shit, motherfucking missed almost all my shots. Ain't that a bitch? Well, at least I got out of there alive. Fuck it. Holy shit, what the fuck? Oh, there was a guy in there. Whatever. It's crazy. Alright. I think he done advertising. Alright, let's get it. I think the
A
game
rumor
almost over
spread
too.
that a black soldier had been shot in the back. This caused a manhunt. About 200 black soldiers gathered at Adam Hall and confronted their white superiors. Lieutenant Jones, the black officer of the 1511th, tried to calm them down. But when a dozen MPs arrived in jeeps and an armored car with a machine gun, the black troops took their weapons and made a stand. Over the next hours, Bamber Bridge was in complete chaos.
Oh, I know he
Many
was above
soldiers
me.
were injured, and a private was killed. Black soldiers were quickly blamed and taken to trial. In the first trial, 4 black men were found guilty, received dishonorable discharge, and sentenced to hard labor. In the second trial, most of the defendants were convicted of mutiny and disobeying orders. But justice came from someone they would have least expected. General Eaker, commander of the 8th Army Air Force, stated that white officers and MPs were a major cause of the revolt. He criticized how
Almost got
they
his ass,
mishandled
though.
the situation and neglected the injured. Because of this incident, it was important to make serious changes in the U.S. forces. This marked a significant turning point in how the military addressed racial tension. Now, when it comes to the actual war efforts, black people contributed a lot more than you think.
The Navy also could no longer do without black fighting men, as the vast Pacific island hopping campaigns brought huge Allied flotillas up against fanatical Japanese counterattacks by kamikaze suicide raiders and surface fleets. Suddenly, black seamen were back in fighting action in the United States Navy.
Never mind.
One of the most pivotal moments during World War II was during and after D-Day. This was the largest seaborne invasion in history. It started with the liberation of France and the remaining parts of Western Europe and laid the groundwork for the Allied victory on the Western Front.
However, necessity for the large artificial harbours, codenamed mulberries, was still of vital importance. One would be constructed from Omaha Beach in the American sector, and the other from Gold Beach in the British sector. Also, the large troop-carrying ships could only get within a certain distance of the landing beaches.
And black Americans had a huge role to play. Approximately 1,700 black soldiers participated in the D-Day invasion on the beaches of Normandy, including a unit dedicated to barrage balloons. These balloons were filled with helium. They were anchored to ships or placed on the shore, floating high in the sky with mines attached to them. They served to prevent Nazi planes from descending to low altitudes where they could attack the beaches. The entire 320th Barrage Balloon Battalion consisted of all black soldiers. They were there to protect the ships during the invasions. But what many people don't know is that the black military played an even more important role after the invasions. They were literally the backbone of the American supply and logistic forces. The equipment, tanks, ammunition, and trucks were handled by black troops. They were responsible for loading and unloading ships and other supplies tasks that supported the post-D-Day efforts. A particularly important group in this regard was the Red Ball Express, a team of truck drivers, with 75% of them being black soldiers. They made the U.S. military the most mobile force in the war. Their efforts helped the Allies defeat the Germans. So, when you get a view from a much broader perspective, you will see that black troops were not only critical in the D-Day operation, but also the entire war effort. The 761 Tank Battalion was the first battalion composed of black soldiers to engage in ground combat in Europe. The battalion joined General Platoon's Third Army in France in November 1944. During their time there, these soldiers played a key part in liberating 30 towns that were under Nazi control. Their service included 183 days in active combat, during which they also participated in significant battles, such as the Battle of the Bulge. Then, you had the Tuskegee Airmen. In the 1920s and 30s, pilots like Charles Lindbergh and Amelia Hart were national heroes. But black people who wanted to become pilots faced a lot of scrutiny. It came from the popular racist belief that black people were just not capable of operating sophisticated aircraft or learning how to use them. Since there were very few black people who flew commercial airplanes, there was a strong resistance to black people becoming military aviators. In 1938, as Europe was on the brink of war, President Franklin D. Roosevelt expanded the civilian pilot training program in the U.S. They came up with an experiment called the Tuskegee Airmen to improve their armed forces and win the war. The Army would give black people a chance and try them, but it was called an experiment because the Army had no confidence that black Americans were going to succeed as military aviators. The War Department selected Tuskegee Army Airfield in Alabama as the training site. It was situated in the Jim Crow South. The trainees, who were mostly college graduates or undergrads, came from various parts of the country. The Tuskegee program, aside from training around 1,000 pilots, also provided instruction for nearly 14,000 navigators, instructors, bombarders, aircraft and engine mechanics, control tower operators, and more. After completing their training, these pilots were sent on different missions. The 332nd pilots started using P-51 Mustangs to protect the 15th Air Force heavy bombers on rails into enemy territory. Their planes' tails were painted red so they would be easy to spot. This is why they were called Red Tails. While the 332nd is the most famous,
the Stars and Stripes, which is a military newspaper that came out every day, would talk about our missions. And they would talk about the all-Negro 332nd Fighter Group and how they had protected the bombers and how we were doing such a great job in protecting the bombers.
black aviators also served on the 477th Bombardment Group, formed in 1944. Back then, there was a popular myth that lasted for a long time, which said that the Tuskegee Airmen never lost a bomber in over 200 escort missions. But later, an analysis revealed they lost at least 25. Still, their success rate was much better than the other 15th Air Force escort groups, which lost on average 46 bombers. By the time the 332nd fought in their last mission in 1945, they had destroyed or damaged 36 German planes in the air, 237 on the ground, and almost 1,000 transport vehicles, rail cars, and a German destroyer. In total, 66 Tuskegee-trained aviators died in action during World War II, with another 32 captured as prisoners of war after getting shot down. But the white press didn't cover stories such as these. Back then, the United States had propaganda in just about every form of media you can imagine, except TV, of course. While TVs were available since the 1920s, they were not commonly used in households until the 50s. So, they used posters, radio, leaflets, books, comics, magazines, newspapers, and movies to spread their agenda. The media constantly depicted white people as heroes in these battles. The majority of wartime propaganda materials presented them in a more positive light, which reinforced existing racial biases. This was especially obvious in the portrayal of soldiers, heroes, in the idolized American family. Black troops and their contributions were frequently underrepresented, downplayed, and overlooked. This biased representation not only mirrored the racial inequalities of the time, but also had lasting effects on the perception and acknowledgement of black servicemen and women in the post-war period. While in reality, black people were very much involved in the documentation of various aspects of military events, training exercises, and war efforts. Their work was used in TV shows, movies, and historical records, and more. This is William Scott, a black military photographer who helped document Nazi crimes in the Buchenwald concentration camp. His job was to capture photographs of official publications and press releases. He helped illustrate what was really going on in these concentration camps and the horrors that those caught suffered. Here is one photo that depicts the crimes against humanity. American troops, both black and white, are looking at corpses stacked behind a crematorium while inspecting the Buchenwald concentration camp. But there was one forgotten story of black American soldiers that remained buried in history for 70 years, and that is the brutal massacre of the 11 black GIs. The 11 lost soldiers were a part of the segregated 333rd Field Artillery Battalion. They were among the first black troops ready for combat in World War II. The men came from the South, where strict Jim Crow laws were already in place. These men slept in separate barracks, ate in separate halls, and were constantly dehumanized by white GIs. After completing their training at Camp Gruber in Oklahoma, on July 19, 1944, they arrived at Utah Beach in Normandy.
The projectile is inserted and manually rammed. Maximum range for the 95-pound high-explosive projectile is 14,600 meters. Like traversing, elevation is manual, from a zero minimum to a maximum of 1,156 mils.
Since they were so highly skilled at loading and firing the huge 155mm howitzer, they made an excellent addition to military teams. The howitzer was one of the most requested artillery munitions of the war. The black troops could shoot 4 rounds in just under 90 seconds and demolish a turret of a German tank over 9 miles away. Sergeant Bill Davison, a reporter from Yank magazine, was so impressed by their expertise and accuracy that he wrote they were the best artillery units under American control. They were so popular that soldiers on foot were glad that the 333rd Fab was behind them. These troops provided support for Major General Troy Townsend's U.S. 7 Corps. The battalion actively participated in most of the major battles in France in the summer of 1944, such as the 6-week-long Battle of Brest, La Haye de Puits, Rennes, and St. Malo. On October 4th, 1944, the 333rd Fab was exhausted from battle. They were positioned in Schochenberg, Belgium. This place was close to the Arnhes Forest, which was near the German border. The area was supposed to be peaceful and a good place to rest. In their minds, the war was finally ending, and they were to return home for Christmas to see their families. Little did they know that Adolf Hitler had something else in store for them.
American, British, and Canadian tanks have overwhelmed the Germans occupying France. Throughout the summer months, fierce armored battles steadily pushed the enemy back.
The German withdrawal was very chaotic. The Germans referred to it as the Void. There was a lack of communication.
The Americans quickly move on, away from the enemy guns, and continue their advance.
On December 16, 1944, German tank forces launched a surprise attack on the unsuspecting Allied troops stationed at the Siegfried Line. They unleashed Nebelwerfers and heavy artillery. The well-equipped Wehrmacht soldiers, dressed for winter, outnumbered the Allied defenders by 10 to 1. They were vastly superior in terms of weapons and gear. American forces trembled. They were ripped apart, knocked down, and murdered. The 333rd Fab provided fire support with all the ammunition they had, but they too were overrun and captured. An American aircraft bomber attacked the group as they were being transported to the German camps for prisoners of war. In the chaos that followed, 11 black men managed to escape. They headed north on foot.
Then the 11 black American soldiers came down from the woods towards our house.
Sie waren nass und hatten kalt und hatten Hunger.
They were wet and cold and were hungry, and they asked if they could possibly have something to eat, upon which they came into our house.
They walked for hours in the cold and were starving. That's where they stumbled upon a farmhouse in Worth, which was owned by Maria and Matthias Langer, Belgian Catholics. The Langers offered them food and shelter and introduced them to their children. The black troops stayed with the Langers for an hour before German troops showed up at their door. A local German sympathizer had spotted the Americans and immediately reported them to the authorities. The black troops surrendered right away. They did not want to put the Langer family in danger.
SS vehicle drove up and stopped directly in front of the house.
The German troops then took the 11 GIs to a cow pasture not too far from the Langers' house, tortured and murdered them in cold blood. They left their bodies to bleed in the snow. Their story might have been lost to history if it wasn't for one of the Langer boys. haunted by the memory. In 1994, now an adult, Herman Langer tracked down the names of the black troops who died at the pasture. He put a silver cross on the exact place where they died. Word of mouth spread quickly among the community. It eventually reached the Americans, including Norman Lechtenfeld, the son of a veteran of the Battle of the Bulge.
Cynthia and I were planning to go to New Orleans to see the premiere of The Worth 11, the documentary that spring.
Lechtenfeld and a few Belgians raised enough money to buy the cow pasture in Worth. In 2001, they established an official memorial at the site. Several years later, the memorial received an official dedication honoring not only Worth 11, but also all the black GIs who served in European theater during World War II. In 2013, former Congressman Jim Gerlach, with assistance from the U.S. Senate's Armed Services Committee, updated the 1949 subcommittee report. The revision included a resolution to properly acknowledge the 11 black soldiers of the 333rd Field Artillery Battalion. The 11 men received 5 combat decorations, some of which included the World War II Victory Medal, Purple Heart, and Bronze Star. Now, the problem back then was that right after the war, Americans celebrated and honored the lives of those who died on the battlefield. But what most of us don't know is that the black veterans at the time were more likely to be attacked for their services than to be honored for it. To become a soldier, one must first train with weapons and learn how to fight, strategize, and survive. These skills gave black people power over the common folk. This terrified and infuriated white America at the time, which is why when black veterans came back after the war, they were immediately attacked by white people. Racial violence skyrocketed. It is in this hostility that we see how World War II meant something completely different for white Americans than it did for black Americans. Most white people wanted things to return to how they were before the war. They wanted to maintain their superiority. This is why the GI Bill, designed to provide benefits, was structured in a way that could not deny black veterans college tuition, mortgage support, and business loans. The GI Bill was a critical policy that helped veterans become middle-class citizens and get readjusted to life in the U.S.
Like many of the governmental systems put in place during the Jim Crow era, the GI Bill, in practice, systematically excluded most African Americans.
That's crazy.
Pushed many white veterans into the middle class and created the perfect opportunities for them to achieve long-term success. But many black veterans didn't receive these benefits, mainly because they were distributed at a local level. VA offices, especially in the South, were able to stop some black veterans from getting access to education and job benefits. Also, discrimination in the mortgage industry made it even more difficult for black veterans to get VA-backed mortgages. But black people didn't want to go back to a country that treated them as second-class citizens. Many black veterans who returned felt they deserved better human rights. Being in the military made them feel more empowered and capable to stand up for themselves. They wanted to put an end to Jim Crow segregation and discrimination at work and schools. They just didn't want to live in a place where lynching and police brutality were part of everyday life. It was in this war that black people came to realize their worth. After spending time overseas and getting treated as equals, it was time to make a change back home. It's no wonder why many veterans, including Medgar Evers and Hosea Williams, became valuable members of civil rights organizations. It was the beginning of a new era. If you enjoyed this video, all we ask is that you like and subscribe to the channel to help spread our movement. And if you'd like to learn more about Black history they never taught.
I ain't popped the parachute quick enough, so I literally just ran to the fucking ground just now.
Sector Alpha has been lost to hostiles. 300 meters. Every sector has fallen.
I did it twice, but that time I was trying not to. Like, I was trying to go fast, but whatever. Either way, I'm dead. My team is dead. We all dead. Oh no, here, he's still here. Let me try it again.
Let's see how they like grenades.
So that's what I was trying to do. Pop it at the last second and shit.
Allied forces have taken Sector Bravo.
Pretty sure he was over here somewhere.
Let's get going.
Somebody's coming from over there, and as soon as I turn around, I feel like somebody's coming.
Bravo 1 is under attack.
Holy shit. Crazy. My dog.
Requesting a ranger drop at this location.
Roger, task force.
Shit. What the fuck was that? They're definitely trying to kill me.
Objective marked, move in.
But, you know.
Squad leader.
Attack that objective. I marked an enemy device, 200 meters away.
What is going on down there? Holy
Check your
shit.
map and return to the engagement.
My bad, my bad. Trying to creep over there.
Marking a hostile, 60 meters from my position.
We are attacking Alpha 1.
Woo!
God damn, bro.
Leave me. Support package ready
Fuck.
to go.
Fuck. Where was my team at?
Somebody help me, damn it!
Where was my team at? Shit. Damn, they getting dropped trying to come and save me. On that note, y'all, I'm finna holler at y'all later. My team ain't gonna be able to get me. I was behind enemy lines, but I'll holler at y'all later. Peace.